Thanks very much indeed. Yes, we are here in Sholapur in Maharashtra, which is ground zero for the 2016 drought, one of the worst droughts in recent Indian memory. Now, we have come here to Sholapur not just to only show you visuals of the distress that drought has caused, because we've seen enough of that. We've seen people scrambling for water. We've seen crops being destroyed. What we've come here to understand is why the crisis has reached this point in the first place. Now, drought is not like an earthquake. It's been coming for years. We've had successive years of bad rain, and yet the government, both at the center and the various states which are gripped by drought, has allowed this crisis to happen. Why were basic rules not followed? Why were steps not taken? Here is our investigation into what we found. We all by now know the images that define the drought of 2016. People risking their lives for water. Tankers that cost crores of rupees, crops that are wiped out. The question to ask though, was all this inevitable or man-made? After all, Marathwada is facing its third successive drought. Rains last year were close to 50% below normal. All it takes is for the government to follow its own handbook, the Manual for Drought Management, available from November 2009 on the Agricultural Ministry's own website. A 200-page document that clearly sets out the steps that could have been taken to minimize the impact of drought. But on the ground, enough evidence that this remained largely on paper. One of the first things it says is to identify water sources and revive them before the monsoon starts. The use of tankers is only when all options are exhausted, and trains are a last resort. But here in parched Osmanabad district, evidence of how those basic rules are ignored. अभी इसका बताइए कि ये कब से बंद है ये?
अभी पिछले 5-6 महीने से बंद है।
5-6 महीने से। टोटल कितना है ऐसे यहाँ पे?
यहाँ पे 25 है।
25 है।
हाँ 25।
सब बराबर बंद है। तो बेसिकली यहाँ सारा पानी कहाँ से? टैंकर से आ रहा है।
टैंकर से आ रहा है।
तो अभी जैसे प्रशासन बोलता है कि हमने एक बहुत बड़ा ये कोई जलयुक्त शिविर का अभियान निकाला है, उसमें हम ये कर रहे हैं, वो कर रहे हैं,
सब झूठ बात
कुछ काम है,
सब झूठ बात है वो।
अच्छा,
कुछ नहीं कर रहा है प्रशासन।
बताइए कि यहाँ कोई सरकार ने कदम लिए थे कि दुष्काल जब आ रहा है तो आपके जो वाटर रिसोर्सेज है उनको रिचार्ज करने के लिए, जैसे कि ये कुआं है
जी, कुछ नहीं लिया गया है।
ये कुएं के बारे में बताइए कितना पुराना है ये
कुआं तकरीबन 70-80 साल पुराना है।
इस ओड़े का नाम है 12 ओड़ा।
In neighboring Sholapur, evidence of how implementing the rule book can reduce the severity of the crisis. पिछले साल आपने यहाँ पे एक
वनराई बंदरा किया, जो कि
बंद बनाया, मतलब
बांध छोटा सा बांध बनाया। बिगर मौसमी बारिश आ गई, अनसीजनल रेन हुआ।
अच्छा,
इससे ये पूरा का पूरा स्ट्रक्चर बढ़ गया।
उसके बाद जब बारिश आया जून जुलाई में, ड्राउट रहा, मानसून ठीक से नहीं आया, उसके बावजूद भी आपके पास यहाँ पानी था।
इसीलिए ये जो हैंडपंप है, इससे इसका वाटर लेवल अभी बढ़ा है।
Water sources which have been done by the government, public authorities, they were not on record, and as a result we found out those. So just a staggering figure from 6,000, it has gone to 15,000 plus
water sources. So originally there were 6,000, you found there were 15,000.
15,000. We brought them on record, and then we started implementing GST Act, that is regulation and development of those sources.
That means activating them,
making them working, and utilizing that for the purposes of drinking purposes only.
Okay.
So once we do this, the major problem of scarcity is done away with.
Marathwada's 7 drought-hit districts appear to be struggling to meet targets for the state government's premier scheme for water management. Since December 2014, when the program started, they have, on an average, achieved only 23% of their targets.
There is a huge natural component to this drought. However, having said that, it should not have precipitated in a drinking water crisis like it has now. If you compare this with Solapur, which also received lesser rainfall than Latur and Osmanabad and Parbhani, there the drinking water crisis is not so acute, and the problem and the solution lies in management of drinking water, which should have been done in a much better way. So though there is a huge natural angle to the whole drought, the drinking water crisis right now is a crisis of mismanagement of water resources, and that's very clear.
The result, proud farmers have now become broom makers.
यहाँ के सब लोग झाड़ू बनाने का काम करते हैं, जो कि वो अभी देखिए खुद झाड़ू बनाने का काम करते हैं।
अच्छा, उसी में
उनका गुजारा चालू है।
With camera person Xavier and Sonal Matharu, Srinivasan Jain in Marathwada for NDTV. Right, so on the ground, clear evidence of the serious lack of following basic procedures. Sudhanshu Trivedi of the BJP is still with us, so is Sachin Pilot of the Congress, and of course Yogendra Yadav. Prithviraj Chavan, former Chief Minister of the Congress, also coming up. Sudhanshu Trivedi, to you first. As I said, drought is not like an earthquake. This has been coming now for months on end. Why was the centre so unprepared?
One is the short term and another the long term. If you look at the short term, the government has tried to take up particularly the around 2,873 villages which are worst affected, around 4,500 hamlets, providing the waters and other things which we are doing for the first time. We are taking the water through tankers. All other necessary steps are being taken. Unfortunately, this is the 2 successive years of having drought, so it has created the situation from bad to worse. But for the long term, we have also entered into an agreement with the World Bank, which will provide around 3,000 crore rupees for Marathwada region. And finally, I would like to say one more thing. In the adjoining state of Chhattisgarh, when we came into power, just 10% land was irrigated. Now it is, after 10 years, it is 40%. Yes. But in Maharashtra, after 15 years of continuing in power, just the irrigated land is 15%. So the long-term measures have not been taken. So the situation has become a chronic. So it will need a long-term solution also.
I don't want to make this necessarily Congress versus BJP, but I want to show you this. I want to show you the manual for drought management. It's a 200-page volume which is uploaded on the Agriculture Ministry's website, which I had shown in the story as well. And when you say that you actually have taken steps like sending tankers, these are indicators that you didn't plan. Tankers is supposed to be the last resort. I want to put up on screen the entire chart which shows how responsibility should be allotted the moment you see a crisis coming. And it very clearly says that there has to be this high-level crisis management committee under the cabinet secretary, which is supposed to look at what is supposed to be done. The Agriculture Ministry is supposed to set up a disaster management center, which further is supposed to take preemptive measures. All of this is supposed to happen months in advance. Sudhanshu Trivedi, did any of this even happen? We don't know.
No, the government has taken whatever step was necessary properly in advance. As I have already told you, that the situation was very severe in these regions. And you know that if you are not preparing something, we are also working at the micro level. Means we are providing a 50,000 up to 50,000 loan to a farmer if he wants to build a pond. Just I would like to remind one more thing. In Manrega, you have claimed so many things that we have provided, but no asset creation. Our government has come and we have decided there should be asset creation. It will be primarily the irrigation facilities like ponds should be created so that most of the villages in these type of drought prone areas can be protected in long future.
Well, I can tell you that if you're in a situation where you're having to send water trains into a place like Latur, that clearly shows that there's been very little advanced preparation, because the manual itself says that trains are supposed to be sent as the extreme last step. But let me come to Sachin Pilot. Now, Sachin Pilot, it's not as if the Congress's track record is that much better. Take a look at Karnataka, which is in the grip of drought and where the situation by all accounts is fairly bad. So again, a lack of foresight, a lack of planning, would you say?
Well, I think the last thing one should do is politicize something like a drought and the severe conditions under which people are living in some districts in Marathwada and in Karnataka for that matter. But I think one thing is very clear, that there has to be planning at the district level. But certainly the manual that you talked about, Srinivasan, and the fact that there has to be better coordination, which we must accept. I think if the government of India had better coordinated 2 months ago with the government of Maharashtra, perhaps this last resort would not have had to be used. We could have had done something else could have been done. And the money that our friend from the BJP talks about, World Bank and loans, etc., that will not give them water for next 24 hours. So this contingency planning, this detailing, micromanagement, and this foresight, it's a standard operating procedure. Obviously, it's been overlooked. It has not been executed the way it should have been executed. But we shouldn't, say that Congress ne kuch nahi kiya, hum karenge. That doesn't make sense. Today, people want to know what's happening tonight. People are living under severe stress. People are going to get water and risking their lives for one bucket of water. It's absolutely appalling that we have to face that situation. They must have concrete steps and give people the hope that the government will take some strong action and not send trainloads of water, but do a long-term planning so that people's lives can be saved.
Okay, Yogendra Yadav, now you're in court, you're in Supreme Court over this. Is there any evidence that the centre or any of the states have been providing as part of that ongoing petition that's going on in the Supreme Court about the sort of measures that governments should take in cases of drought or rural distress? Any evidence to suggest that any basic standard operating procedures were followed? Was there any foresight or planning done?
I'm afraid not much, Vasu, and I must thank you for bringing something sane in this conversation. For the last few days, we've had all kinds of conversation on drought, much of that focused on cricket, because in this country, nothing moves unless you bring in cricket. What we need to foreground are documents of the kind that you referred to, this manual for drought management. Now, the point you are making in a sense is this, that that you don't need to think afresh, you don't need to start planning from zero, the plans are available. Is there a political will to implement it? Now, what does the manual for drought management say? It says that the collector should have a plan about 6 or 8 months in advance, that there has to be priority allocation, a clear prioritization has to be done. First drinking water, then this, then that, etc. And what no one is talking about, and I'm sure my friend both from Congress and the BJP do not want to talk about, is why is it that Marathwada, areas which are under severe water scarcity, why is it that sugar cane crops are being grown there? Why is it that sugar factories and liquor factories their reopening could not be postponed by 6 months? Why is it that water bottling plants are being allowed to plunder the drinking water away from this region? Why is it that diversion of water for industrial purposes and for big cities of Maharashtra is taking place from places like Sholapur? Now, these are difficult questions that they don't want to confront, because it's very easy to play those games. And I was very sorry to hear from Mr. Sudhanshu Trivedi that, we've done all that could be done. This is surely not the case. I mean, let's get serious about the drought. Are you saying that everything possible could be done and the nature has been so unkind? There is nothing to support the assertion that you're making, Mr. Trivedi.
Let me, before I go to Sudhanshu, I put that question to Prithviraj Chavan, who a former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, and I asked him, I said, look, it is a very large number, particularly of the Congress and the NCP, who control the sugar industry, the water sugar, guzzling sugar industry of Marathwada and Western Maharashtra. And isn't that a serious problem? Here's what he had to say.
They're all involved. They're even, it's not to say that the sugar factories only belong to Congress or NCP. There are a lot of sugar factories belonging to BJP also. But yeah, okay, but point is, you should not look at party. If there is a water crisis, why did they give crushing license to sugar factories? The cane could have been taken somewhere else. Why didn't they stop sugarcane plantation in right time? Why didn't they take hard decisions? These decisions have to be taken. We've been talking about converting entire sugarcane plantation to drip irrigation, which will save about 40% water. But no, we've not been able to do it.
But then, Prithviraj Chavan, the point is that even when you were in power, you didn't cancel the sugar factory licenses either.
The point is, sugar industry is a very important industry for Maharashtra. It's virtually backbone of our rural economy. We don't stop them just because we hate them or we don't like them. If there is a water crisis, you must take drastic action. In our time, although there was a drought, we handled that drought much more effectively. But these people have not been able to handle the drought. And I'm afraid that there could be mass migration.